recording, we are officially 100 days from the start of the FIFA World Cup 2026, which means that the U.S. is soon to play a home World Cup match. And that's very exciting. The question that we keep running into, and as we discussed in our last episode, is, well, who exactly will be playing and who is going to be wearing the teased jersey for the red, white, and blue come this summer? So to talk about that with me, this episode is the greatest historian on U.S. soccer Twitter. It is Thomas, aka U.S. Keeper. Were you teased by the teaser?
I always look at little things. I think one of the things I pointed out, which I kind of found interesting, was in the background they had like a red crest.
Mm-hmm.
And historically, the crest is pretty consistent. It's the same color or whatever. There are variations where there's red ones. I think there's like 2 or 3 that
Yeah.
if you go back to like 94 where the whole thing was red, and there's 2 recent ones. I think the 2019 maybe, or 2017 and 2023 have a all red
Yeah.
crest. And then there are some ones that are all blue. But so I don't know, that leads me to believe it's probably going to be a Navy jersey.
Yeah.
Of some sort, but it'll be interesting to see what that is. I think we've seen the leaks. Honestly, like it's
I don't think they're gonna look different.
yeah. I mean, I will say I did a story on this many years ago. There's been leaks along the way, and there's certain ones you can trust better than others. I think there was one that got leaked out that by a reliable source back. I don't know when it was. I'd have to go back and look, but somewhat recently that was like a light bluish one and had some like swirls on it like that, and then a white one that was similar.
Mm.
That didn't happen. I mean, they were legit. Like they
Mm-hmm.
were legit kits, so it never came to fruition on that. So maybe we get surprised. Maybe the sources were wrong. Part of me hopes they are with at least one of them, but
Yeah.
it'll be what it'll be. I'm not. I haven't bought a U.S. kit in a long time because they just haven't been anything that's really been worth
Look,
buying.
I bought both of them last year. The current ones we're
Yeah.
wearing because they're great. And if you ask me, those could have been easily the World Cup kits for this year. And I love the pinstripe shirt with the red and the blue stripe. I love the stars with the subliminal stars shirt that the women are wearing right now. I
Yeah.
thought those both could have just been World Cup kits, and everyone would have been happy, to be honest.
Yeah, those are nice kits. Actually,
Yep.
I'll step back. Actually, my daughter gets the new kits nowadays. I don't.
Well, as it
So,
should. Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
so she gets those. Um,
That's
and I
how it
agree.
works.
Yeah, and that's I'm fine with that. And so I think you're right. I like that white kit. We discussed it. To me, a reverse of that in blue, gives you a similar type
Yep.
stars piece of it. This other one with stars on it that are uniform. It's boring. It's bland. Like it's nothing. It's a warm up, kit, and maybe that's what it ends up being, right?
Could be that that's the wrong leak. Yeah, 100%. Like
Right.
that.
I mean,
Maybe
it's
that's
possible.
I don't know.
It maybe it ends up being a warm up one, which I kind of hope it does, because to me, but FIFA has stricter rules on kits for the World Cup, and they had to have some contrast and uniformity with them. So we'll kind of
Mm-hmm.
see what those end up being. I feel we'll be wearing red shorts with one of these kits, um, or white, I
Mm,
guess, and then there'll be a blue one probably, with
yeah.
that contrast. So we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll find the right combinations. Maybe we'll get exceptions since we're the home team. Maybe not.
Well, at least we won't be wearing all red and all white like Canada does. I think their uniforms are quite like Mexico is cool. Yes, I said that. I do like the red, white, the green, white, red that they get into with the kit with the green shirt, white shorts, red stuff. Like that's cool. They usually have decent designs. Um, I don't know. We'll see. Um,
Well, honestly, Bart, I got it right here. But this is, right?
oh, the Portland. I mean, honestly, the Portland Hearts of Pine shirt. That's what it should be. That's my take, right? And this hasn't come out, and we'll probably do a whole podcast when it comes out. The red and white striped shirt looks too busy, but the stars on the dark blue shirt looks too simple. And I'm like, you could have found a way to meet in between.
Yeah, I think that
Uh,
again. I'll go back to Mexico. The way they do their kits, right? They're like they just add a little bit of something different, but
Mhm,
the
mhm.
core of what it is the same, right? Again, the hoops. Look, go back to 2018, right? They did it right then, right? They did it was a faded in, like it's
Yep.
all the same theme. Like now you're trying to be overly creative where I don't think you need to be, right?
I genuinely believe that 2018, yes, we all saw them. We didn't make the World Cup. I think not making the World Cup obviously harmed those jersey sales because no one wanted those jerseys because we didn't make the World Cup. And I think Nike maybe possibly was thinking, hey, let's maybe start getting back into like hoops on kits, right? And we haven't really seen that since because I think they got a little scared. Just my thought.
No, it's a valid point. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think people will buy them because of the U.S. kits, but there's some nice ones out there from other countries, and so it'll be interesting to see how many people are wearing U.S. kits when you're at a game that the U.S. isn't playing in. I think that that's the kind of a take a mental note of what that looks like, even if it's not the current one, but it just
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this as someone who volunteered at the Club World Cup last year. Like, there were plenty of folks there who ended up wearing a US kit, plenty of folks who wore the Atlanta United kit, and there are plenty of times that I go to Atlanta United games here and there's someone in a US kit. Is it the most prevalent non-team kit? No. But there's always one or two and a lot of times they're older ones, which is kind of cool too. But I'm with you. Like, how many of those people there are going to be wearing a US kit? Now, granted, my question will be how many people there are actually fans of the teams playing, but that is not the question we're answering today because I'm not FIFA and I don't know that every game is somehow magically sold out. But also for US soccer insiders, you have the ability to buy tickets to non-US games that are randomly open. But all games are sold out, I thought.
it's a weird situation. I mean, the problem is I think they they price people out in the beginning. I mean, I had
100%. 100%.
I had access. I was going to buy. I was going to buy, right? And so,
Yeah.
because if you did want to go, you're going to have to pay hell of a lot more. And I'm glad I got what I got,
Yeah.
and and I'll enjoy one match for sure, and we'll see after that. But I think it's they just kind of overshot that a little bit, and so how are they going to, you know, how, I mean, I think they'll sell out of the good matches. I think the problem is it's a
100%.
watered down World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't know what to expect. I mean, I a Scotland Haiti match. I mean, is that going to sell out? I mean, it might. I mean, is it going to be a competitive match? It might. Um, but to me, that's not one that really excites me as a fan. I think once you get to the knockout stage, that then even the first round of that's not going to be overly. There's going to be some blowouts in there. So I think it'll all work out. I think people will have the opportunity if they want to go. They'll still have to pay quite a bit of money, but I will say this: I had an easier time getting World Cup tickets than I did Hearts of Pine in my state. Like, good luck,
Well, one of
good
those
luck.
is worth attending.
I mean, it's hard though. I mean, and they're pretty pricey, the tickets they
Yeah.
have. Considering what, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, the demand is there. I absolutely love it. It's unfortunate. I tried last night to get tickets. Um, I think it was sold out
Yeah.
in 5 minutes. Like, it was crazy. I mean, I don't know how many seats they had per match, but it wasn't a lot because most people have the season tickets, and the
We're
waiting
gonna
list on this is thousands of people waiting to get in on that. So it's great to see it in the area. I mean, it's
like honestly, if that's the problem, is that a local club is selling out its season tickets of a 4,000 seat stadium. That's love that.
yeah,
Love to hear that.
it's a good problem to have. I think
Yeah.
it's a good sign for soccer. I think is that it's
Mm,
growing and growing in the right areas, the right
yeah.
cities, to pull in those passionate fans because they want to see the
Yeah.
games.
Speaking of all this, I think this ties wonderfully into. I wanted to ask you about Thomas Muller's quote that he gave to Kicker earlier this week about soccer in North America. Obviously, Thomas Muller, the legendary German player, um, World Cup winner, longtime Bayern Munich player, is now playing at Vancouver Whitecaps. Has been there for half a season. Just started what should be his first full season in MLS. Answered a couple questions about it. He said, "quote you must separate two different things. Football still has no big significance in the life of the general population. It's not spoken about in the office on a Monday morning. But the football bubble is not, in fact, so small. In the stadium, there's euphoric atmosphere. The people are interested in the game. The rest of the population doesn't know the football bubble at all. They have other topics in sports. Um, I think that's actually a pretty fair assessment of where we are right now in the English speaking North American countries.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think when you look at the United States, right, we're event fans, right? The
Yes.
Olympics, hockey, men and women get to the finals. They both
Yes.
win the gold medal. Everyone's watching it, right? I watched it with my daughter. We watched both of them. Like they're
Yeah.
great events. They're events, right? So they get excited for the event when it's their team in the Super Bowl, the World Series, or Stanley Cup, whatever sport it is. They get into it, right? Because then you start hearing, oh, the U.S., right? And I start getting a million questions from people that know the game but don't really watch it
Mm-hmm.
that often, right? And so that's where like that bubble is. I think it's a bigger bubble, but to me, the way I gauge that is this, right? And over the MLS season just kicked off. To me, people are interested in it, right? And within inner circles, certain people are more or less. The people that you're talking to in that circle feel that, and those are probably your top tier fans when it comes to soccer, United States, or further than that. Then then it becomes a more of you know event after that, because I don't even think that the middle level of like, oh, my local team is doing well, let me go and watch them. And I mean local, I mean like the Revolution, or wherever the Atlanta United type team is in that. I will try to get to a game, right? um because I don't think the pocket between national and club, there's a huge gap there, right? We see, again, I mentioned Portland, Hearts of Pine, right? They have a pocket of fans,
Mm-hmm.
7, 8, 9,000 fans that want to go to the matches and watch them, right? How big is that? I don't know. Like if they had a 10,000 seat stadium, does it sell out? Maybe. Um, but
Well, they're selling out 4,000, but is that because the demand is
right. I mean,
5,000? Yeah.
right, and they've tried to expand it. I think they're going to be close to 6,000 this coming
Yeah.
season, which is better, but
It's fantastic.
it's a very true statement. I mean, we have so many sports in this country that have our attentions are drawn to, and I think soccer still is on that back burner. Essentially, it's moving its way up for sure. But I think if you had more soccer locally
Mm-hmm.
in your area, I think people will be more interested in going to those events. If it's affordable. If I had a team in my town, or 10, 15 minutes away, and they're playing on a Wednesday night in the summer, and it's $5 to get in, $10 to get in, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I'd go and partake, go and watch a match. I mean, I do that during the high school season. I try to get as many games as I can
Mm-hmm.
and watch the local high school, because that's what's on. That's what's available
Mm-hmm.
for me. But that's me. And there are not many people doing that because of time commitments and other things in their lives. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure we ever get over that. I don't think we ever do.
I think that's been my question, like internally, and also when we get into these, like, oh, what does soccer got to do to overtake these sports? And I'm with you. I'm like, does it need to? Does it need to not necessarily overtake, but does it? It just needs to grow the bubble more. It doesn't necessarily, because I mean, look, you just mentioned hockey. Okay, there's a large population of hockey players and hockey fans that is, on paper, uh, more established than soccer and MLS would have. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's permeated. It hasn't permeated quite as much of culture as a whole, right? Um, yes, we can talk about Olympics and World Cup or stuff like that, but you know, a lot of people watch that Olympic gold medal final, watch U.S. beat Canada in two matches. Doesn't mean they're going to necessarily go tune into the next NHL game, this past week. Um, and so I don't know, if the answer is, oh, we've got to break the bubble, or if it's just, wait, bubble still has room to grow. And if we just get more people inside of that, more people who can touch it and see it and appreciate it for what it is, I think that's probably to me the more logical way to grow than, oh, we got to somehow get more, we got to get more in the headlines than baseball. It's just not going to happen.
Well, it's about access, right? So, I mean, it's very hard, I think, to get, not very hard, but for someone that doesn't want it to be able to watch a soccer game, to watch the game they want to watch, right? Again, if you look at again, I've said this before and I'll say again, you look at the NFL model, right? In terms of, hey, okay, we're going to have a premier game on Thursday night, and then we're going to have, games on, your local game you'll get to see. You'll get to see a 1 o'clock and a 4 o'clock and an 8 o'clock game, right? That you create a premier sort of thing, and you say, here are the better matchups. You're going to see better
Yeah.
matchups,
Yeah.
right? You're going to get the local one. So you'll get the Revolution. You maybe will get one of the New York teams, and then you'll get the prime time game, right? Like, to create that
Messy.
sort of thing, like, give that access.
Yeah.
Don't take it away. And I think that's where they're missing. Like, because they're chasing the money and they're getting it from the diehards. You're not getting fans from casual people that are flipping around television, right? They're saying, "Oh, geez, is
Yeah.
this our game on? It's a local team. Okay, it's a Saturday night. There's nothing on. All right, I'll watch for a few minutes, and who knows? Who knows what happens from there, right?" And I think that's the challenge. And when you have Messi and all that other crap involved, I think that doesn't help things because it kind of waters down everything else other than his matches. And I think it brings attention to the league, but I think what happens when he leaves in 2 years, right? Who's the next Messi that's going to come in, and will it be right away? If not, then the interest drops, viewership drops.
It's just interesting, and I do hope that's what this World Cup can do is just bring more people into the bubble. To your point, maybe it's more people in the Boston area now want to go to a Revs game, or more folks in, well, Portland's probably not Portland, maybe not the best answer, but there maybe more folks in Birmingham, Alabama, which has a team. Um, Maybe more folks say, "Oh, there's soccer here. I have a USL team. What does that mean?" But they don't really need to care. They just want to go watch the soccer team because that to me is something that we haven't quite broken into yet, right? I think MLS attendance has actually been pretty decent for the past decade, right? Holding, gotten better and holding steady. USL is improving, but it hasn't broken into mainstream in the markets that it's in, right? There are a few examples, maybe Sacramento, maybe Louisville, New Mexico, but that's maybe that next level of getting more people in the bubble, as you said, at lower levels. Um, because it's easy to get people in to cheer for the US teams, right? We got a World Cup this year at home. I'm sure we're gonna have. I hope we got a lot of folks, a lot of a lot of folks cheering for the U.S. Maybe they buy a jersey, maybe they buy a shirt, whatever. Next year, next summer, right? We get the next bandwagon, which is the U.S. Women's National Team, because everyone loves a winner. Those are easy to get, so I'm with you. Like, how do we get that? How does Birmingham attract more fans? How does Buffalo, New York, with their proposed USL soccer team, how do they capture the curious mind with that?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is what they do locally, right? Like, so there's a huge demand, obviously, here in Portland, Maine, for that, and there's so much demand. They're talking about bringing a women's USL team, right?
Mm.
So, so they're seeing where there's a potential there. Now, I don't know if they'll follow in the same manner. I would suggest they probably won't, because the trend is not there. But what I do know is that the attention that's brought to it through media, just showing it on the news and having reports and stories on that, has created a demand for the Portland Pine, Hearts of Pine, right?
Yeah,
And they're sensing that, and they say, "Well, geez, can we capitalize on from the women's side?" I think they can. I think they can, because I know a lot of local families that were disappointed they couldn't get tickets, and I pointed them to a semi-pro women's league that also plays in that stadium from time to time. That plays like 6 or 7
yeah.
home games, and so they're college uh, college athletes that are playing that, they kind of give them a co-op sort of job situation. And I'm like, look, this is good soccer too, right? These are college players playing. A lot of them are from the area, either playing in the area or from Maine or from New
Yes.
England, and
Yes.
they're playing in this, right? And so they're playing in a competitive league. We went to a couple matches. It's a fun take, right? And to me, it's not as chaotic as uh, what goes on in some of these matches, right? Like, and so certain people don't want the chaos behind that. So I think providing those options, and so I'm going to hope to get some people to go to a couple games, because it's affordable and it's reasonable, and I think, but you have to have people up around it, kind of fluffing it, right? The local club saying, "Hey, we're going to do we're going to take the
Yeah.
kids to the club." I mean, we had a chance. I couldn't get tickets. I mean, I just couldn't. Like our club offered tickets, and I couldn't get them because they sold that
Wow.
fast. It's crazy. Like, um, and I think that's what has to happen. And I think here it can be successful because I can feel that. Long term, I'm very interested to see how it is because Maine has a semi-pro basketball team, and they they do okay. They have a double A baseball team. And they have like a, I don't know, some second, not a minor league hockey, but the next level down. So essentially probably a double A hockey in the area, and they draw very little in general. So the fact that you see the Hearts of Pine doing that so well, is going to be interesting to see how
Mm.
long it continues for. I mean, they were successful last year, so I mean, you've got a couple. They bought themselves
Mm.
a couple years on that. It's,
Yeah.
but everyone has to pump it up. Schools, clubs in the area, and really try to drive people to it, and just kind of get it out there. And if it's the women's teams, and I think you're still going to see a good product, and I think hopefully maybe allows more girls to be interested in the sport because we know the numbers aren't there for the girl side. Boys come out in droves. There's 3, 4 teams, you know, in the same age group. It's crazy. Girls, if you can get one team with a couple subs, are doing well.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. All right. Well, I think again that's just kind of the monitoring process as we look at World Cup this summer and the effect that it can have because it's not just that U.S. Soccer, FIFA, uh, the Mexican Federation, the Canadian Soccer Association make money. That's not what it's about. It's about how many people are buying into the game as we move forward. Um, let's now move on to the main topic of this particular podcast episode. Like I said, last episode we talked about the players that we think that are on the bubble who are definitely in or who are going to be out, right? Some of those players that we talked about, you know, I think some people may say, "Oh, well, they're not really on the bubble or they are." Bubble is a generic term. We talk a lot about bubbles here. What I then wanted to do is figure out, okay, well, who are those players that are absolutely coming? Like whether like as long as they're not injured or like whatever, like they're coming. And the reason I want to do that is because then you get into the in between guys that are even between that and bubble. Like yeah, I think they got a good shot, but they've got to like keep holding on. So this episode we're going to talk about who do we think are for sure making it. And I have two categories that I came up with, which is they're in pen, or no, sorry, they're printed on the paper already, and then the other one is they're in pen. So like, you got the guys that are like you make the roster, they're already there. The other ones are like, yeah, they're coming. Um, and I gotta be honest, Thomas, I couldn't put a full starting 11 together with the guys that I was like, yeah, they're coming.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge. You know what I mean? Because I think what you've got is you've got your, if you break it down by position, right? I think you've got what, 7 positions? Is that what it is? At least how I do it. I got 8 positions, right? So I got the goalkeeper, fullback, center back, and I got the like a the holding midfielder, regular midfielder, attacking mid, and then striker. Actually, that's only 7. So and so when you look at that, you have like the first level. You're like the first level. I think you can fill out, right? So you've got 7 players that are okay. They're on my roster.
Yeah.
And then when you start looking down below that, you're like, well, geez, that could flip. That could flip if they're playing well. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like, spots that could just flip from in to out, right? I mean, look at like Yunus Musa. I don't think he's in, but he scored a goal the other day, right? Like he's
We didn't talk
gonna,
about him on the bubble episode, which I
Yeah,
was a little shocked none of us mentioned him because I
yeah.
think part of it was like Pochettino. I don't know what he thinks of him
Well,
anymore,
yeah,
but
I think I
yeah,
mean, I
this
think
is an
we're trying to
interesting one.
yeah, I think we're reading the room a little bit, but here's the thing, who knows what happens, right?
Yeah,
And to me, there are very few exceptions in this group of players that are maybe okay to play in the World Cup or aren't fully fit. Because I don't want to bring any player that is recovering from injury. Oh, he'll
yeah,
recover, as we
yeah.
go. Like,
No,
and I just don't want to do that. Like, I think we're deep enough in the respect of saying, hey, like, unless you're a McKinney or Pulisic or whatever it is, like, I don't think you
yeah.
fall into a category where like, oh, you'll just work through the injury through the World Cup or through the camp phase of it. Like, I
Yeah,
don't think we can. I think we have enough depth in the pool, again, assuming everyone's healthy, that we don't need to try and squeeze a player in and say, well, yeah, they'll be healthy, second game. I'm like,
which
wow.
I'm gonna say this not to bring up this topic, but like I think that was the issue with Gio Reyna last World Cup was we didn't have anyone else who could do anywhere close to what Gio Reyna can do, or at that point in time was like gifted enough to do. Right? I mean, no one. So I do feel like there's a level like we got to bring this kid in because if he can play, he's magic. There's a lot of rehashing of history, but the reality is, I think, truly is that he wasn't as fit as I think he thought he was. Sorry. And maybe if it's fast forward, now you go, okay, well, you're not fit. We got Tim Tiltman. We got Diego Luna. We got this dude. We got this dude. So you're right. I think the pool has evolved to not needing to hold on to someone just because, well, their potential, but they're not 100% fit.
Yeah, and I think when that communication comes down, I think I want to know. I want to know because there are always snubs, and do have an article I've pretty much ready to go as the history of U.S. men's national league snubs. There will be a snub. I don't care how big the roster is. There's always another player you could have wanted on that roster. Um,
Absolutely.
and I think when you look back at that, you'll say, yeah, well, maybe he was snubbed. But I want to know why Landon Donovan didn't get called in specifically, right? I don't want to hear 10 years later, 15 years later, whatever it is, that
It,
it's all this stuff. Like,
yes.
because
Yes.
I think the player deserves to know what that is. Like, I mean, if it's to me, if it's got to be a fitness thing, right, at the end of the day, right? Or it's got to be something like, hey, he's not fit. He can't, he can only give us 20 minutes every other match. Okay, to me, that's logical. Like, this, that doesn't make sense to bring a player that's not going to be able to potentially slot in as a starter, because any of these players should be able to start any match if needed, right? I mean, that's the
That's the hope.
reality,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
fit right in. And so that's the things that I don't think we'll get. But I think we should, though, for the most part, because again, there'll be 4 or 5 players that are like, yeah, they could have gone, they could have not gone. Again, kind of flipping, right? Are they going to be there? Or are they not going to be there? Is it current form? Because I think Pochettino has his team. I think he has all but 3 players selected, his roster, assuming everyone's
Wow.
healthy. That's my opinion. I mean, we see U.S. Soccer has no problem rolling out Tim Ream and in
Yeah,
this
that's true.
this kid thing,
Yeah.
Chris Roldan in the Super Bowl stuff. Like, I mean, to me, like, you don't like. I'll tell you this much: if you're rolling me out for that stuff, you better be damn sure I'm on the roster,
Yeah.
because to
Yeah.
me, that's
Yeah. I mean, okay. So the leak did include Tim Ream, which, yeah, he's been a mainstay of the roster, but like that, I'm sorry, that is he's not on my automatic list. He's not on my I'm 10 out of 10 confident list because I've seen him play in MLS the last couple weeks.
yeah.
Just saying.
Well, but that's
Eh,
why I think Pochettino already has it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think he
Yeah.
cares at this point. I think to get on into the top 30 players, you're going to need to do some crazy stuff here in the next 3 months to get
And
his
to be
attention.
fair, there is very little a player could do between now and May 26th, which is when the roster will reportedly drop. Like there is only so much you can do because unless you, looking at you, Josh Sargent, start bagging 2 goals a game from now until then. Like I do agree that there's not a whole lot you can. change. But I do think there are plenty of players that are plenty of positions where there are 2 or 3 players where they're fighting for one spot, maybe 2 spots, right? And so that kind of stuff, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's where like where the battles are going to be, right? Where you've got like, oh, do you bring an extra center back that can play the right wing back, right? Like those sorts of
Yeah.
like chess pieces,
Yeah.
because that's where I'm looking at that. Like where can you pull pull another player in that you might need, as a sub late in the game, because like a player like Diego Luna or Zendejas, right? Like to me, they offer the ability to start, but also offer some dangerous opportunities off the bench, right? And so to me, those 2 players, in my opinion, are fighting for the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it. All right. Well, who are your like 10 out of 10? They're 100% coming. No questions. Like, print the jersey now.
Yeah, I mean, based on uh, assuming they're healthy, I'm gonna say
Yeah,
Dest for
100%.
me.
This is assuming
Yeah,
they're all healthy.
yeah.
Yes.
I think to me, Dest is one of those ones, and I'm not, in my opinion, none of the goalkeepers are. So I'm skipping that. I don't think any goalkeeper in my mind is a lock. Um, there's no like, holy crap, this is the one.
You're
Sorry,
100% right. Good. You're 100% right.
yeah. I
In
mean,
my mind, too.
yeah. I just it's blank for me right now, and I think there's a lot of time. Um, Again, I think Pochettino knows what he wants, but for me, it's not a lock. So Dest for me at the fullback position is a lock. I think he does a lot there. Um,
Hmm.
you want another one?
Yeah. Go through all yours. I want to
Okay,
hear all of
so
them.
yeah,
And then we'll compare.
I got Dest. I also have Tim Weah. I think he offers versatility. I do have him in the fullback position as well. I've got
Interesting. Okay.
I've got Chris Richards,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, McKinney. I'm
Yeah.
for sure. Pulisic,
Yeah.
Balogun, and I'm on the
Well,
fence about one. Only again, I'm assuming they're healthy, so I'll say Tyler Adams. Like
yeah.
I was hemming and hawing because of health, but I'm assuming he's healthy. To make me, those are the locks that
What
you have.
about Jedi?
Oh, Jedi, where's okay? Yeah, he's on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's on
Sorry,
there. Okay. Got it.
he's on
Okay.
my
No.
further full. Yeah, he was on
Gotcha.
my on the left side here, so I didn't have that.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's what 7, 8 players. I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
lot, and those are all projected starters, and potentially,
Yeah.
I mean, even Weah may not start honestly. Um, and I don't know, that's kind of surprising, but I just think
Yeah.
Weah offers a lot with his versatility. He can play up front. He can play wing back. Uh,
You can play both sides of the attacking line.
yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I only had 7, so I had no goalkeeper either. Dest, Richards, Jedi Robinson, Adams, McKinney, Pulisic, Balogun. So I did not include Weah as the 10 out of 10 print the shirt guys. Um, I don't disagree with you. I just don't know if Pochettino truly values him in that way, and I do, because I think he is a guy who could play left and right back, left and right wing. In a pinch, put him at striker. I don't know. But I don't think he is a starter for sure, at any one position.
Yeah, I don't think he's a starter. Actually, I don't think he's a starter, but I do
I
think he's a lock for the roster.
Yeah.
And I think that I
Yeah,
know that's a weird
interesting.
thing to say, but
Interesting.
his
No, I get it.
his
Yeah.
versatility just I think really affords that. Because where else does he slot in, right? Maybe I just don't in this system. I don't see him playing the attacking midfielder position. Next to Pulisic, I
Yeah.
just don't see him fitting in there. But
Now, I originally listed mine based on like power rankings of who's going in. Right now, McKenny's my number 1 player. Like the way he is playing for Juve, the way he's playing both in the league, in Champions League, obviously just got his new contract extension. Wes McKennie is my first man on the team sheet player.
yeah, I think that's a valid point. I mean, he definitely he's scoring up a storm. I think he probably ends up being in that, maybe, partnered with
I mean,
Pulisic
I
up
Pulisic is
top.
number 2, but that's just because right now McKinney is, like, obviously playing at a high level. Um, yeah, but I just wanna point that out. Wes McKinney, to me, right now, is our best player currently playing soccer. He's just playing at a high level.
For sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and it's great to see because I mean, he's finally starting to show people what he's always been able to
Mhm.
do. And he just signed a long-term deal with Juventus, so
Yeah.
hopefully that continues driving him to play at a high level, and hopefully it continues because that's what the U.S. will need, right? We'll need another player or two to
Yes.
have those moments, right? We'll need that. It can't just be Pulisic, right? And
And if
that's
McKinney is playing in an actual, like, more of attacking role, I think that really helps Pulisic be way better.
what it does. I mean, I think he's dangerous in the air. I mean, he just does so much out there
Mhm.
that you can't. And I think he's been so consistent, and we've seen moments of that with the men, but he just hasn't been playing in that role either. So, again, his ability to play multiple positions is an asset as well, right?
We both put Folarin Balogun in this list. I wanna know your reasoning because I do think there's still a question about the striker pool, but I don't think there's any question who our number 1 striker is, and I'm just gonna keep going back to the man in Copa America 2024 was our best player on the field.
Yeah, I actually think he's better suited in Pochettino's formation and system than he did in Berhalter's. And I think obviously his club performance right now is has been spectacular. Um, I mean, he's by far the best striker we have, right? And I think if you can get delivery to him, uh, I think he's going to finish,
Yeah.
right? I think he's going to finish, and I think that's the key. And I know I think Pepe could find moments. I'm not sure.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
You know I think he's going to be. I don't know, I think Pepe's better off the bench in some cases
I agree.
because
I 100% agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
because of how he plays, it's a little bit more dynamic um, than what we see from Balogun. But Balogun, I mean, he's definitely showing why he should be that number one striker. And I don't. To me, I don't think there's anyone really that close in
Yeah.
general. When you talk about playing against the top tier countries, right, and being able to get that key goal in the key moment of the match.
Who did you have in that second category of like, all right, don't print the short yet, but like get the nameplate ready?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one for me because as I said, I kind of have the flip flop sort of thing in mind here, right? Like, I think like someone like Alex Freeman, obviously he got the time, but I think when you look at Alex Freeman and Joe Scally, I think they offer similar, uh, you know, options for center back
Mm,
and or right wing back, and I think I don't maybe you take both, but I think to me those are guys when you look at if you look I'm just starting with defense. If you kind of look at the defense side of it, right, that provide that versatility, excuse me, where okay, you can play them here or here. They're gonna both play pretty well. They slot in okay. We've seen them play
mhm.
the right center back position both pretty effectively recently. So to me, those players are kind of on the fence. I think Freeman is probably up the ladder a step over Scally. It'll be interesting to see what
Yeah.
if
Okay.
Pochettino calls him to camp. I think that's gonna be the key on that, right? Because
Yeah.
I thought he looked good in the position when he played the right center back. I thought
I
he looked
agree.
good. I thought
I
he stood
agree.
out. Um, and that's what I'm kind of building that. And that was in November, I believe. So to me, that's a long time ago, and that
No,
is,
it feels like a decade since we've had a USMNT match. Bring back
yeah,
January camp.
yeah. but, but I mean, you look at those players, I think they're battling for the same position, but they're also could be, also just be battling together too.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I look center. I'm going to skip center back in general because there's just
That's fine.
I
That's
just
fine.
I don't know. There's ones in there.
You have to be listen, this is like 9 out of 10 confidence they're making it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
like,
mean, I think Mark McKenzie would is going to make it. I think No Kai Bank should make it, but that's I don't. I
yeah.
get the sense every day that's not happening. But maybe
I'm not liking this reporting out of Germany right now regarding
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Banks.
It's not. It's like doesn't give you warm and fuzzy heading into a World Cup, which means I think he's already had conversations with Pochettino, and he's pretty much like, yeah, we're not. You're not a number one choice for not number one, but you're not a choice for a number one roster type of conversation. But if you look at the center midfielders, I think players like Tessman, Johnny, and Aiden Morris, I think those players are ones that are kind of battling for similar spots on the roster, right? Like,
Yes.
I think they all offer. I think Tessman is probably more of a 9 out of 10 in my mind. Johnny, I mean, he just continues doing so well with the club. It's hard to ignore that, but it's also hard to ignore how poor he's been with the national team. So, like someone like Aiden Morris, who has a certain skill set, uh, may find his way on the roster over Johnny, who may be a better player.
Yeah.
I think Brendan Aronson is making a huge case for himself, and
He
then you can,
is.
I think we haven't seen a lot from MLS season yet, but you can throw in Lunas and Dejas and Reyna kind of in that little mix. Again, I don't think they're all going to be there, but
Yeah.
I think they're all fighting for the same spot. And again, you can throw Musa in there a little bit too because I think he's still on the radar, but I think he's very much down there.
Mm.
Um, but again, they're all kind of fighting for the same spot, right? So I think there's maybe two spots in there. Again, nope, sorry, I missed Tillman on that too. Uh,
I mean, that's a good question because when you look at this midfield, you have a defensive midfielder with you kind of have two defensive mids with an attacking midfielder, right? What are the how many holding mids are you bringing then? 4? Or you're only bringing 3 and then you bring a guy like McKinney who can kind of play that position if needed. I mean, I genuinely don't know.
yeah, I think if you look at the versatility, if you had the extra position you wanted to take in there, right? Because okay, Freeman and Scally are going to play center back and fullback. Okay, and so then I don't need to take another right back,
Right.
right? Because I now already have those like you if you look at it from that perspective, I think you bring an extra midfielder. Personally, I think you're going to bring. I mean, this I don't even want to talk about Roldan and Berhalter. I don't want to
I
talk
know.
about those players because I don't think they're deserving for so many reasons. But I think those players are going to get some consideration. Jack McGlynn, I think, is going to be an interesting one to follow too because he's healthy, and he was definitely a
Yeah.
player that Pochettino liked at the Gold Cup, and I think he got called into a couple of the fall camps, but maybe the injury um, had him being replaced. So I think that's where you might bring that extra player is kind of in that midfielder position because I mean it's yeah yeah I mean I think that's the key, like who else can play kind of the holding midfielder, you know box to box midfielder, right? Because I had McKenny there, but I'm not sure he actually slots there anymore,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
right?
think he's more of an attacking, if not a winger, depending on how you use him in this system, you know?
Well, exactly. So that maybe puts Tessman there, right? And then Johnny and Aiden Mortis kind of move up a slot potentially. Because again, I don't think effectively. I don't think Rodan, Berhalter, McGlynn, Busio, Sand, maybe Sands.
I don't think they're cut for it. No, I
Yeah,
agree. I,
I just don't think they can
sorry.
play at a high intensity level in the matches that matter. Because they're not doing it now, right? I mean, I think going back to Jurgen Klinsmann, and he wasn't wrong in this. Look, you got to be playing at the highest intensity possible when you get to a World Cup because when you get there, it's going to be even higher, right? There's no way to simulate that. And if it to suggest that you think you know, and especially a critical position like midfield is one where you can just throw someone in there because they have one skill set or they're great locker room player. I don't think that's wise roster building.
Um, anyone else you want to have in this like 9 out of 10 confident, maybe even
Yeah,
8 out of 10 confident there
yeah,
too.
I'd say Pepe falls into that for me.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think Pepe falls into that for me when you look at what he does and has been able to do. I know if you listen to the last podcast, he was the player that I did say was maybe a possible snub. Um, but again, assuming he's healthy, and I think that's what we're doing here, I think he offers that 8 out of 10 kind of confidence that I think
Yeah.
that he can fit in there and start if he needed to and come on as a sub and provide dangerous opportunities and critical goals when it matters.
You have a lot more on this list than I did. I'll just say that. Part of my reasoning was kind of as we've been talking through, I just don't know who's winning the position battles for basically what it comes down to is the backup, right? I so I'll tell you my three. I only have three. Two of them I'm not confident on personally. I'm just like, well, Pochettino's bringing them. Tim Ream and Matt Freeze. And the other one is like, yeah, he's going. He should definitely go. Like, if he doesn't, like, something had to have gone wrong. Is Tim Weah? He's the one that I'm like, yes, he is the. If I'm building an 11, he's part of my 11. I don't know if he's part of Pochettino's 11, but he's part of my 11.
Right.
I fully understand what you're saying about Freeman and Scally. I think one of those for sure is making it, but I don't know which one. I think probably Freeman. I don't know which one. Um, Tessman, Johnny, I think both of them probably should make it. But when you factor in Christian Rodon's on a press tour, what does that mean for this team? You know, um, Tillman, McKinney, Aronson at attacking mid, I think are pretty safe bets, right? Forward again, Ballo, duh. I like the shout for Pepe. I like if Pepe is healthy for me, he's coming because he's your number two striker, 100%. Um, but like I'm not super confident about a whole lot of other guys just because I don't know where Pochettino is going to make his decisions when it comes to constructing a roster because you get 26. You get 26. How many of those guys are going to be your vibes guys like a Berhalter and a Roldan?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key. I mean, the reality is there are many players that make rosters that don't see time on the field, right? You can go back again. I always look back at 2014 because I'm saying you're trying to tell me that Donovan wasn't fit enough or whatever it was to be on the roster, right? But then Mix Discaroo didn't play a minute in that World Cup, right? Um, you had injuries to Josie Altidore and Aaron Johansson, right? And you can't
In
tell
the
me
tournament, yeah.
right in the tournament. You can't tell me Donovan's not going to be
But
able to
Brad
play.
Davies had to be on there.
Yeah, Brad Davis, right? I mean, and right. So to me, I think you look at that and say, okay, like how is it constructing, right? You break down a roster and that's a good one because it had injuries on that. Um, I think even Matt Beasler had an injury because that's where Brooks came in and was the sub
Yeah.
in the first game against Ghana, right? And Brooks came in and obviously had a huge moment. I'm not sure he gained much time for the rest of the tournament, but he made the most of his opportunity.
Right.
Um, and he came in there because I think Beasler, ended up being fine and playing for the remainder of the tournament. But when I look at the players that are going to fill that substitution or spot starter position, you're right. It's going to be someone that's going to be able to go out there, blended in with your core team, and be able to, you know, don't miss a beat. And I think it's hard in some respects. We really haven't
Yeah.
seen that. I think that's the one issue with the short run for Pochettino is we haven't really been able to see enough of that combination where players are lined up against other core players and see how that blending works. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, I don't think we've seen enough of it to make me feel more confident about, hey, this is definitely the guy.
I think that's why I'm so hesitant is just because we have not seen enough of the like Freeman and Scally is a great example. We've seen them. Not with Dest, right? We've seen midfielders, not with the big guns in here, right? Um, so what does it look like when you have when you have your first choice players available? What does that roster actually look like? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I envisioned something, but I don't think we've. I don't. I think unfortunately, I think Pochettino has
Yeah,
had the luxury of having a fully healthy roster with the
yeah.
players that he wants to bring in. I mean, he's
Well,
had a lot of time to let this marinate over, since
yeah.
November, right? In terms of thinking about who he wants, and to me, there's players like Agumang and maybe another random goalkeeper that's not like Jonathan Klinsmann. I mean, I'll throw that name out there because
Yeah.
he's a guy that was brought into two of the last three camps, I believe, and I don't think he's a starter or anything, but I think there's a little push from U.S. Soccer to have Klinsmann and Berhalter on this roster, right? You're um, for some reason, neither of which I think will be doing anything, effective.
I mean, Horvath is now all of a sudden winning games in MLS again and playing, like it's just funny. It's like, oh, okay, well,
Well, that's the thing. Well,
I haven't considered him, but
yeah,
he's in the league and has had two pretty darn good games in a row. And
yeah,
it's
and I
early
think
season, but Matt Freese and Matt Turner haven't exactly looked fantastic yet.
no, I mean, and there's no stand out there, but again, I'll go back to it. I mean, I think Matt Turner he was on a podcast with Tim Howard and Landon Donovan, and if
Mm,
I listened to some clips of it, it I will say if what he's saying is true, Pochettino was straight with him. Um, it sounds like he's definitely on the outside looking in as for a starter position, um, and he's willing to fight for it, and he's willing to be a part of the team whether he's a starter or he isn't. And I think that's a great attitude to have. It's as from a former goalkeeper myself, it's a very hard spot to be in, to do that, but he'll be ready. But you never know what's going to happen between now and then. Injury is, I mean, I think injury is what is going to knock someone out of this, right? And who's there to fill in for them? Goalkeeper, I don't think you have anyone. I think the goalkeeper thing is about five across the board, and there's not many. The third guy is third. There's
I'm confident that Matt Freese is making the roster.
well,
I'm
I
not
am.
confident in Matt Freese.
Right. I would agree with that. But again, if he's not healthy, the next person up,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Turner, in my
I agree.
opinion. And then the next person
Yeah,
behind that is Schulte, maybe Brady. I mean, maybe Brady's a third. I mean, how do you construct that
yeah,
sort of thing, right? Because to me, there's no like, you know, Pochettino has his, players, but to me, there's no like standout anything when it comes to any of those positions. I don't feel comfortable with any option as it comes to the goalkeeper. So, um, no matter how well they're playing. I mean, Turner's my guy because he's been through it. He's been through the qualifying.
yeah.
He's been through World Cup. He's my guy. Um, and I'll die on that hill because I think he's had that experience. Freeze, we haven't seen that. How is
Yeah.
he gonna handle it on the biggest stage, right? I'm assuming he'll get the two friendlies in March.
I would
Um,
assume so. That'll be his
and
biggest competition truly yet,
well,
I
and I
mean,
have to wonder, right? Because part of what Turner said was his poor performance. Again, the problem is the way he was saying it, I took it very personally because it's like, well, your performance at Nations
well, it's
League and
Switzerland.
then the friendlies headed into the
Yeah.
Gold Cup. Um, he got a lot of blame for that, which I'm like, okay, like he made mistakes, but geez, like it's a team thing
Yeah.
here. Like,
Yeah.
um, along the way here, I mean, the team they looked like shit against some of those
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
Like it was not
I mean,
good.
you can blame him for that goal that Panama scores. Oh, he should have been closer to his. Why was that player allowed to be free and take a shot like that from inside the penalty area?
Right. I mean,
You know,
we look at
and
great.
we're goalkeepers. We're going to take the blame, but like
Right.
there were 3 breakdowns that happened before they took a shot off.
Yeah, and we look at great goalkeeper performance. We look at Howard, right, and how great he was against Belgium in 2014, right? But he had to stand on his head to do that, right? And his team wasn't doing him any favors. And so and
Yeah.
so those moments like, oh my God, he's unbelievable. I'm like, well, he is, but like give him some help, guys. Like it's like
Yeah.
you can have those moments, but when you don't, it's like, well, what the heck? It's like, well, yeah, but
Yeah.
you left me out the dry. Like it's so I think I think there's a balance, when you're
Hmm.
evaluating that in general. And Pochettino wants his own guy. I get it. He wants to,
Yeah.
make that mark with the players like Agumon and Freeze, clearly, and Arfston, and those sorts of players that he's bringing in. I mean, he just does.
Yeah.
And I think Arfston has shown to kind of,
Uh,
because okay, we'll talk about him. If you're not taking Arfston at left back, who's your option based on who he's brought in, right? Because I mean,
Serginho Dest. And
so you
then you
got
put someone else at right back. I'm
okay,
sorry, that's my option.
right.
Like I'm gonna be real honest with you. If Jedi Robinson is not fit to go, Serginho Dest is my starting left back, and I'm putting Alex Freeman at right back.
Or Weah, right?
Or Weah.
Right.
Right. Or Weah at right
Right.
back. Like, I mean 100%, right? Like Weah's on my roster. But for me, he's starting as a winger.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, put Weah at right back because he can play that position pretty well. He can get up and down. So I'm with you, but like I'm telling you right now, this is nothing against Max Arfston in terms of like who he is, but like he has a ceiling, a very hard ceiling that comes very quick. If Jedi Robinson is unavailable, and I'm not saying Max Arfston won't make the roster or not, I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm just saying if Jedi is unable to go, I'm putting Dest at left back, and I'm putting Freeman or Scally, probably Freeman at right back,
Right.
or Weah, depending on how you want
Right.
to play it.
Right.
That's what
And
I'm
I
doing.
think I think that's the right answer, right? Like, I mean, I think that's the right answer. I think you have pieces that you can move that aren't gonna they're
Yeah.
gonna give you the same quality whether on the right side or left side or wherever it is. And I think that's the critical piece of it. To me, you don't always have one for one. Okay, that's the next guy in line because they
Like
played
I
left
think
leg.
Dust is one for one for Jedi in the sense of like they're
Well,
both going to be
right.
great attacking pieces on that left side.
But
And Dust
but
plays
but
left back. That's
but
not
Dest's a
a
starter
crazy
though,
ask of
right?
him.
But Dest's a
Yeah,
starter though. Like, he's
yeah,
not. He may be behind that, but he's starting on the other side
yeah.
either
No,
way.
I get
So
what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah, it's not like if you the progression depth chart is. Yeah, I think that's a valid point, right? To me, that's the answer. It's not, oh, Arfson's next in line,
yeah,
because to me
yeah.
he's going to get chewed up defensively, and we've seen that proven. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
he
mean,
made
if let's say Pulisic gets hurt, which dude gets hurt, like to me the answer is probably put McKinney out of the left wing because you
yeah
can put Tillman maybe or Tillman or one of the, but like you can put Tillman at that attacking mid position,
yeah oh
but
yeah
do I or Weah, right?
yeah
Oh,
right.
but to me, it's not okay. Who's our backup left winger?
Well,
Which for
exactly.
me is like Haji Wright, but it's not who's our backup. It's well, how do we now adjust to still get our best 11? Because again, the goal is to get your best 11 on the field. The goal is not how do I get. The goal is get your best 11 on the field in the best possible positions, right? Not necessarily like, oh well, my right back's hurt, so now I got to put another right back in. Not necessarily.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I think that's
You
spot
know,
on. I think that's you as a manager, especially of a team like the US, right, where
How
we
about
don't.
Kenny in goal? How about we do that?
Well, maybe. I mean, he's doing quite a bit right now. I haven't seen that
I
stat
know.
line yet.
Watch it. There's gonna somehow, some way, Weston McKennie is gonna play goalkeeper for Juventus by the end of his career because like they're gonna have one of those crazy like, well the goal, the goalkeeper gets hurt, we don't have any sub left or whatever, and it's just somehow Weston McKennie is gonna play goalkeeper.
Man,
Watch it.
who
It's gonna
knows? It,
happen.
it, it might be happen by the end of the season. But yeah,
Maybe.
but I think that's a smart, because you look at back to '02, right? US has to do those things, right? They have to put the best starting 11 out there no matter what, because they had injuries that were leading into that tournament where Reina couldn't play, Claudio Reina couldn't play, and so you had to make those adjustments. And they win a big game against Portugal to kick off the tournament, right? And then they go in, they get a draw against South Korea, right? And then they get beaten up by Poland. But um,
A lot of teams get beaten up by in that tournament. That was a weird one for me, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But again, when you look at that, that's such a great point with that, right? It's not the next player up; it's the next best player that slots here, right?
yeah,
Because I think
yeah,
we have a better pool of players in terms of the versatility of them being able to play other positions at a high level, which we haven't had
yes,
for a very long
yeah,
time. You try to fit square pegs in round holes for many, many decades
yeah.
for U.S. soccer, and now you can do that in certain spots and still be successful. And so I think hopefully Pochettino sees that. when he looks at building this roster and say, well, geez, yeah, you're on the roster. Guess what? You're still, 20 something, player, right? I don't care that you're next in line to this player, but there's two players that are starters that would be ahead of you that would shift here, 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 right?
Yeah. Roster construction is not a simple thing. I fully admit that. So we are working our way through the roster discussions as we get closer to the 2026 World Cup. Thomas, thank you for joining me on this episode. Uh, we will probably have way more roster discussions because we have a U.S. men's national team roster coming up in a couple weeks. And then next week, I'll have Bridget Swartwood back on to talk about She Believes Cup and hopefully when I'm talking to you, hopefully it's the U.S. women raising another She Believes Cup trophy. So lots of conversations to be had as we again get closer to the World Cup this summer. So make sure you follow Thomas on Twitter at USKeeper. He'll have a lot of stuff on chasingacup.com coming out as the World Cup gets closer. He's great historic reference. So look out for those articles. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Soccer for Us Pod. Again, thank you, Thomas, for joining me. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Bart. I'm out.